The title of what I'd like to talk to you about is called I Want That. And I'll explain what that is in a moment. But I'm a papa. I really want to do you good. I have nothing to put on you. What I'd like to do is share with you some workable principles that I think if you could hear them, but in order for you to hear them, you've got to invite me in some way and allow me to talk to you. When I understood what Paul said, he said, "I want that." It was a direct change in my own life, in my own journey, and if you would allow me, I would like to describe that and make it part of your own journey. And the reality is that life, what I want to do, if I could, is impart to you some principles that would help you hold steady. I've lived long enough to know that life really does get hairy. To become unshakable, to make progress in life. Some people spend their whole life circling the wagon. And you'll see in a moment, in fact, let me do it now. One of the things that really scared me was I found the thing that was worse than failure. When I discovered the thing worse than failure, what could possibly be worse than failure? To be a success at something that doesn't matter. And I didn't want to be a success at something that didn't matter. I don't want you to be a success at something that doesn't matter. And so when I'm going to ask you for a bold move. Don't you do it unless you know what you're doing. But I'm going to ask you, in fact, I'll do it right now. I want you to ask God the Father to give you that. What is that? That is what He had in His mind when He found you. God the Father had a singular, solitary purpose in His mind when He found you. That's what Paul was talking about. I want that which God had in His mind when He apprehended me. But when you ask Him for that, it's a bold request. I'm telling you, it really works. And that's what I'm going to try, if I can, explain to you. I met the Lord when I was 12. It's very dramatic. And if I could explain that to you, you would both laugh and cry. And so immediately when I met the Lord, like you, I was stubborn, self-willed, know-it-all, and I immediately lost it. I just took off. I didn't want anything to do with all that. And 12 years later, wandering in the wilderness, I came back, and the moment I came back, I began to sense something that I missed the first time, which was understanding that when He met me, when He called us, it is for His own purpose, not yours. And so I boldly said to God, I want that. And almost immediately He introduced me to the yoke. Jesus said, take my yoke, because it's easy and light. Now that's a paradox. I'm telling you, if there's ever a paradox, it's that. A yoke that is easy or light. How do we approach young people today and say, you need a yoke? But here's the fact, and you must hear me. The fact is that yoke is a paradox, and if you don't understand the yoke, you will never know freedom. Freedom is purpose. If you never find purpose, you can't know freedom. Freedom will elude you continually because you're into one deal after another and you don't even know where you're going or what's happening. And so I said to the Lord, what are you saying? What is the issue? Take my yoke. It's easy and light. And so at age 24, that's what is that? That's 65 years ago or so. And I thought, okay. So I took his yoke, and the thing that I learned was that the yoke is what guides me into embracing that. If I'm not in a yoke, it's very difficult to embrace that which God has for me. And I don't go through all this, but I had opportunity to go to medical school, surgeon, all the way to be a surgeon. I thought that, and discovered the fact was, I wanted to help people like you. What I really wanted to do is, definition came out to be something like a soul doctor, when I could help other people find their way and become progressive and helpful and fruitful. And so I just, it really wasn't much of a choice. When I asked for that, take my yoke on you, and then amazing facts, and I began to see the Lord altering life and situations and issues. And I have, for most of my life, been doing that which he called me to do. How did I get there? I got there by embracing his yoke. Now, the application is simple. Very, very easy to understand. If I take his yoke, he said, if you will take my yoke, I will set you free. The yoke is like wings to a bird. As soon as I embraced the yoke, I began to see purpose, and I began to understand life, and all of a sudden, the whole crazies of life started to make sense, and I could put the pieces together. And that's what I've been wanting to do for you. I wanted to put the pieces together. Now watch. The yoke is, you all know what a yoke is, but the yoke fits over my shoulder. If I strive against the yoke, I get sore, and I get irritated, and I get mean, and I do bite. If I don't strive and chase, then if I'm slow and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that, I don't want to do it, then the yoke hits me in the rear end, and then I find I'm sore. I'm sore in the shoulder, and I'm sore in the rear end, and so the Lord said, it's not hard to understand. You aren't adjusted to the yoke. When you adjust to the yoke, it's easy and light. And I've wanted badly to say that to young people. It's the burden is easy and light. And it's a paradox. And I found it to be genuinely true. And here's how life works. Life works too much, not enough. Too strong, too weak. Too far, not far enough. Someone said, well, I don't want to go there. But for us to begin to say, all right, now what? I'm chafed because I'm striving, and I'm sore because I don't want to do it. And then I suddenly find an easy yoke, and I begin to do what I was designed for from eternity. And the joy and the fulfillment and everything that God wanted for me and for you. Now hear me. Rest. Oh my God, the need for emotional, spiritual, physical rest, just to be able to say, I am following Christ. I am in his yoke. His yoke is easy, and his burden is light.